The rise of the shadow government.
In a land once vibrant with democratic spirit and cultural pride, the government under Prime Minister Keir Starmer transformed into an oppressive regime that sought to reshape the nation's identity. Using the nation's own laws as weapons, Starmer and his cadre consolidated power, systematically dismantling traditions, silencing dissent, and imposing a socialist system upon the people, not by consensus, but by calculated coercion. The rise of the shadow government. Keir Starmer was a cunning and charismatic politician who rose to power under the guise of reform. His promises of equality and prosperity resonated with those disillusioned by economic disparity. But once in office, Starmer enacted sweeping changes that centralized authority under his rule. The constitution was amended, not through transparent debate but through backroom deals and veiled threats. Starmer's team of loyal enforcers executed his will without question. Angela managed propaganda, ensuring the populace was inundated with messages glorifying the regime. Ricky and Tan spearheaded the secret police, silencing dissidents with a mix of fear and force. Jeremy and John oversaw economic policy, nationalizing industries and crippling private enterprise. Rachel, Yvette, Ed, Wes, and David served as regional overseers, enforcing compliance with brutal efficiency. As the government's grip tightened, the nation's cultural heritage was rewritten to fit the regime's narrative. Schools became indoctrination centers, historical monuments were replaced with statues of Stalin and his ministers, and the media portrayed the regime as saviors while erasing dissenting voices. The country's identity, once cherished, was slipping away. The emergence of the People's Army. While Stalin's regime tightened its hold, a resistance quietly formed. Led by Stephen, a former soldier and decorated war hero, the People's Army emerged as a beacon of hope. Stephen was a man of principle, deeply rooted in the belief that the nation belonged to its people, not its rulers. His charisma and unwavering resolve drew citizens from all walks of life to his cause. Stephen's team was not composed of seasoned politicians or wealthy elites. Instead, it was made up of everyday heroes: Meya, a schoolteacher who smuggled forbidden books; Paul, a farmer who hid weapons in his fields; Danny, a mechanic who built armored vehicles from scrap metal. Richard, Ben, Nick, Douglas, Dan, Liam, Nigel, and Alex each played their part, united by a shared vision of freedom. The People's Army operated in the shadows, staging raids on government facilities, broadcasting their message through underground networks, and rallying communities to their cause. Their mantra, "For the people, by the people," became a rallying cry across the nation. The turning point. The breaking point came when Stalin's regime attempted to enforce a law requiring mandatory conscription into national unity brigades, essentially forced labor squads. This act ignited widespread outrage, and resistance grew bolder. Stephen's army struck key targets, disrupting supply lines and exposing the regime's corruption. The people's defiance reached a crescendo when Stephen and his team orchestrated a daring operation to seize control of the capital. Using their intimate knowledge of the city and the support of citizens, they infiltrated government buildings, broadcasted messages of liberation, and dismantled Stalin's propaganda networks. As the People's Army stormed the central government compound, Stephen faced Keir Starmer in a climactic confrontation. Their exchange was heated, a battle of ideologies as much as it was a physical struggle. Stalin's belief in control clashed with Stephen's vision of freedom. In the end, the will of the people prevailed. Stephen emerged victorious, and the regime crumbled. A new dawn. With Stalin and his team deposed, the nation's identity began to heal. Stephen and the People's Army worked tirelessly to restore democracy, dismantle oppressive laws, and rebuild the nation's cultural heritage. Their efforts ensured that power would never again concentrate in the hands of the few. The story of their struggle became a legend, a reminder that even in the darkest times, the will of the people can triumph over tyranny. And as the sun rose over the liberated nation, its citizens stood united, ready to reclaim their future.